Start the meeting. Please rise for the flag salute. Marv?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Mr. Forrester, are there any additions to the agenda?
There are none, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, I am down to the consent agenda. If everybody's had a chance to look at it, I'm open to a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, I would move approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 I have to abstain. I was gone this week, last time.
Okay. So one abstention. Opposed? Anybody opposed? I didn't ask that. All right. Okay, we're down to the first visitors' appearances and requests. I'll ask in the audience, is there anybody that'd like to speak to us first in the audience? That's here, present. Is there anybody on Zoom or the phone? There's no one on, okay. We will have another point at the end of the meeting, towards the end of the meeting for visitors' appearances and requests too. No council presentations, council business. Item number 3, authorization to provide a housing grant support letter. Josh Smith.
Evening, council. For the record, Joshua Smith, Planning Director. It's a little bit of an odd request. We haven't had to do this before. It's been a lot of housing rule changes in the legislature for the last few years, really. Back in 2019, we did a housing capacity analysis. These are things that are statutorily required by the state, each city, to, it's kind of like determine how much land you need or how much building you need. Something we've done before in the past. We last updated in 2019. They went from a kind of a longer time period between these updates to an 8-year update. So that's coming back up. They pushed out a grant, just like last time we applied for the grant. The state runs the grant, the state pays for it. We just participate. So I applied again. This time they are requesting that councils are aware that their staff is applying for these grants to do these statutory requirements. So they just want a support letter that we support the grant. It doesn't support what these documents do or what you will approve in the future. They also added a document that is, you do the housing capacity analysis, but you also have to do a housing production strategy. That one's probably going to be something you want to pay attention to and you'll probably be more involved in because it actually creates actions for the city. And that's been a little controversial in other communities, but they've worked through them. The grant allows us time to work through them and kind of negotiate some of those strategies and what they might be. There's a huge list of things that can be accomplished, but right now all we're doing is just trying to acquire the grant and then we can go through the process. The letter is set up for the mayor to sign. We just need a motion from council to move forward. If not, then we'll just pull the grant back.
We need a motion.
Or unless you have questions that of anything you saw in the overview.
If there's no questions, yeah, I'm open to a motion.
I make a motion that we support the grant that is physically responsible, gives the city more involvement when negotiating the housing production strategy.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. This is letter support, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. All right, we're down to city manager's report. Mr. Forrester.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll start out with public safety tonight. Katie, our dispatch director, has been doing a great job of managing recruiting efforts. We have currently 19 applications since reopening the recruitment, with 17 moving on to the next phase of testing. Katie also helped get the 911 simulators set up at Central Oregon Community College for their upcoming dispatch classes that will appear in the fall catalog. So why is this important? as the council is well aware of, we've struggled to maintain a full roster of 911 dispatchers for quite some time, well before COVID happened. And one of the things the city's strategically looking to do is, number one, get those positions filled. And number two, create an environment up there where our employees that are involved in dispatch have certainty in terms of the time off that they deserve, vacations and such. And right now we're really struggling to be able to accommodate a quality of life for those workers. So very important work that Katie is doing, and it's really fantastic that we're seeing some results that are positive to get us to that goal and to deploy that strategy. The Faith in Blue event was last weekend and was well attended, and Central Oregon Rotters stopped by to visit with the police team. So again, why is this important? This is an ongoing opportunity for our police force and our men and women in uniform to connect with the public and become part of our community and just be a familiar face. So this is an effort to strengthen that as we go forward. Also, a reminder for the council that the Shop with the Cop program is coming up soon. It sounds crazy to be talking about Christmas, but it's coming up on us. And right now they're looking for Christmas wrapping paper supplies from the community. And of course, donations are always welcome through the year to keep this amazing community program success. Again, tying this back to what I just discussed as the reason why the Faith in Blue is so darn important. This is a legacy program that we've had for a long time, and a lot of our families in need are grateful and dependent on this service that our men and women in uniform provide for the community. So moving on to Public Works, we're getting ready to start on fall projects that include crack sealing, paving, and meter box maintenance in preparation for wintertime, colder weather. Tying back to our pavement condition index, we refer to as PCI. That's why we do the crack seal, and extends the life of one of the city's most high value assets as our streets and roads. And our crack sealing has become more important strategically to maintain this very important asset. So I would challenge the city of Prineville PCI index against a lot of our contemporary communities in Central Oregon. We've got good roads here, and we're striving to make them even better. Railroad remains super busy moving those cars and wrapping up summer maintenance projects just in time to prepare for winter. We did have a very successful meeting, as Matt has explained to me today, with Union Pacific. More to come on that. So we try to stay close to those guys for opportunities to continue to grow our railroad operations. I sent the council a memo this afternoon. We had some information on Facebook about a fire that happened in a leased building that Craw Pipe Manufacturing has on the railroad freight depot site. We don't know a lot about that. There has been an investigation conducted by Crook County Fire and Rescue. We haven't had the final report on that, but it looks like it might have been most likely electrical related. We had some power outages about 11 o'clock, 2 in a row, in the early time frame of just past 11. And at 11:17, we got a 911 call that we had a significant fire. So the bad news is we had a fire. It was very significant, very large fire, mainly sparks, we think, from this electrical malfunction, ignited PVC type product. So pellets for PVC for extruded pipe, and also reject pipe that didn't make spec, was stored out there fairly close to our building. We'll address some of those issues with the tenant out there as time moves forward. But I just can't say enough about the response we got from Crook County Fire and Rescue, Crook County Crook County Sheriff's Office, of course, our PD folks. Also, Jefferson County Fire and Rescue came over with a large ladder truck. And within about 3 hours, Casey, Kaiser, Matt, and I were on site right when it started and stayed during the duration of extinguishing the fire. So about 3 hours, they had it down. They were able to protect our building, which is significant. So I can't see any, and I don't think Matt or Casey or any of us can see any warping or discoloration of the red siding on our biggest building out there. Now the switchgear that serves that building, that is owned by the company, not the city, obviously in disrepair at this time. We did have some damage to a rail freight car that had about a third of it full of barley for the business we do on the transloading for the craft beer industry. So there will be, we're working with our insurance folks on what that entails as far as our responsibility in getting that repair to that car and whatever was lost in value in terms of the product that was within the car. Good news is no one was hurt, no injuries. The car was really the only thing the city owned that was damaged. And as of 7:30 last night, Pacific Core had restored power to the city side's operation. So the freight transfer logistics side, which is kind of the south side of the operation, power's been restored. I understand power's restored to the mag chloride operations. So the office is back up. Our electric based fire suppression systems are back up. The other thing I'll mention is we updated 10 or 15 years ago the backup diesel pump system for fire. Jerry, I think you remember that real well. That system worked fantastic, fired right up just like it's supposed to. The only issue that came up is it made more pressure than the fire trucks could consume. So it was surging on and off when it go up against the pressure limit. So Matt, of course, and his wisdom of the system just turned it to manual, and that solved that problem. But we had plenty of water, had quite a river running through the facility. So I want to bring to the council, I think I shared in my memo to you, an acknowledgement, particularly for Crook County Fire and Rescue, their service, and the fact that we had the Jefferson County folks come over and assist. Without their help, this fire was catastrophic in size and could have ignited lumber in the other sheds, pellets in the other sheds, and other products that we store across the thoroughfare there. So those guys, man, they're amazing. So I'd like to bring something to council in September that we give them maybe a letter of appreciation for their work, especially having the Jeffco folks come over and assist. Moving on to Meadow Lakes. August was a very good month for us. We've been on a quite a streak of good months of business and golf activity out there. We had a Portland group come in that visited the course this past weekend and really put a big boost in our revenue for activity at Meadow Lakes. Again, just kind of the why of why this is so important. Meadow Lakes is one of our most beloved assets here in the city. It's well used. We're known, not only just locally, but regionally and statewide as one of the best golf values. And I run into people from Bend that take their time to come over and golf in Prineville because they just love Meadow Lake. So we're doing really well out there. Airport side, wildfire activity has been down. Of course, we have the fire over in the Sisters Culver area that kind of rekindled some activity up there with the single engine air tankers. We've got numerous new hangar buildings in process. One of those, of course, is what will be the Crook County owned auxiliary hangars that they're building as part of the airport facility. But in addition to that, we have a lot of general aviation hangars being upgraded and new hangars being built. So keep in mind, council, as a reminder that there's a multitude of family wage jobs up there with the FBOs. There's 3 FBOs operating out of there. We've got some restoration projects. We've got some manufacturing going on up there, aircraft related. So there's just a lot of good jobs up there that our airport supports. Planning, CVI International continues to move quickly to get underground work and foundation in before winter. Again, this is the company that is moving their operations from the Bend market over to Prineville. There's about 50 jobs involved, all high-paying family wage jobs that's being relocated to our community. Planning Commission approved. Yes.
Could you tell us what CBI stands for again?
I don't remember.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Lisa, do you remember, or anybody? Caroline? CV International. Yeah. CV International. So I don't know what they do is componentry for hydrogen cells and specialized metal work. So think of titanium and things like that they specialize in. Moving on to IT, we just completed the radio upgrades and we began the winter maintenance programs up on the stations around the area. Finance, we're still busy with the audit season. Lori is pleased with the results of implementing another method of notifying customers of any payments that needed with the robocall system, and kind of a metric that indicates that we're making some good progress. Shutoffs for August were way down, about half of what we typically see. So I think that's helping people become more aware when their bills are due for city services. So lastly, we'll talk a little bit about public relations. Sean Ray's reporting in the last 90 days, our followers have increased 5.2% to 23,314 followers. Our largest age demographic of followers is actually 65 plus years of age, at about 29.2%. So unfortunately, I now have accomplished the goal that I'm one of those 65 age and older, unfortunately, but yeah, welcome to the group, right? Second largest age group is 55 to 64 at 21.3%. And a little bit more than 50% are women in all age categories. So I think that's interesting information. Of our followers, 55.1% are from Prineville, and the second largest being from Bend area at 11.4%. So connecting with the folks is our goal there. Another way for people to access information about what's going on at the city. And I guess lastly will be just a quick reminder that the annual LOC conference will be in Portland this year, next month. So if any of you are inclined to participate in the League of Oregon Cities Conference, please get with Lisa and she'll get you set up. So that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. Is there any questions or anything else?
Questions from council?
Have one, I don't know if you can answer this.
Oh, I'll do my best.
For the airport, you know, the Forest Service was gonna do the repelling thing there. I see there's like 2 towers.
Yeah, I think there's 3.
Is that part of that?
Exactly what that is, Janet. So I can't answer that question, luckily. And so, yeah, so they have completed construction. I want to say there's 3, maybe there is only 2. I was out there just the other day. You'd think I remember, but yeah, so they're actually utilizing those, and we're gaining, I can't remember what Kelly told me, but I think there's 10 or 12 more people that are stationed out of there than there has been in the past because of that. So again, lots of folks up there participating in their day work at the airport. So
Great.
Any more questions from council, please? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on to, thank you, Steve, for the quarterly financial report. Lori Hooper Antrim.
Thank you, Council. Lori Antrim, Finance Director for the record, and I'm here to give you your fourth quarter report. We're still in our auditing phase and we're finishing up some year-end adjustments, but we're not expecting any material changes to the financials at this point. With all city funds combined, fund balance increased approximately 6.7 million through the fourth quarter. Funds that had a significant positive impact to the fund balance included the general fund, all of the SDC funds, the wastewater fund, admin, and the buildings facility fund. The largest contribution to the increases are from increasing franchise fees and grants or reimbursement agreements for capital projects. Funds making a significant negative impact on fund balance were the transportation fund due to capital projects. And then the Plaza Fund saw nearly a 50% decrease in its fund balance due to some landscaping repair and maintenance needed due to someone hopping the curb and driving through the landscaping behind City Hall. Are there questions before I move on to the general fund?
Right here?
It was actually back here.
Didn't hear about it.
The general fund revenues are roughly 139% of the FY25 budget, or $15.2 million. Overall franchise fees came in at roughly 166% of budget, and property tax revenue came in at 105% of the budget. Overall annual expenses are 85% of budget, and the general fund balance increased $4.2 million or 61%. Beginning fund balance trends have been on the rise for FY26. Unaudited fund balance is estimated at $11 million, largely due to the increases in electrical franchise fees. Current property taxes collected have been on a steady climb. They are up over the prior year, roughly $94,000, coming in at approximately $3 million. Delinquent property tax collection came in at $81,000, which is up over the prior year about $21,000. Electrical franchise fees are roughly $10 million, which is up roughly $2.6 million in comparison to the prior year. Natural gas came in at roughly $172,000, which is a decrease of roughly $25,000. Cable TV is up, coming in at $57,000, and waste disposal is up slightly, coming in at $90,000. Transient lodging taxes are up over the prior year, approximately $13,000, coming in at roughly $466,000. Are there questions about the general fund? Okay. The transportation fund revenues are 105% of the annual budget, or $2 million. Intergovernmental revenue is at roughly $1.1 million, with annual gas tax collection being up over the prior year. Total expenditures are at roughly $2.2 million, or 93% of the annual budget, and capital improvement projects largely associated with paving and striping totaled $919,000 at year end. As mentioned earlier, state gas tax is up slightly through the fourth quarter, with revenues totaling $919,000 compared to the prior year at $908,000. This slide shows the transportation fund balance trend over the last 10 years. Unaudited beginning fund balance for FY26 is $689,000, decreasing due to the completion of paving and striping projects. Are there questions about the transportation fund? All right, moving on to the railroad fund. Overall railroad revenue totaled roughly $1.2 million, or 122% of the annual budget. Total expenditures are at 57% of budget, and at year end, or $1.1 million. The fund balance increased roughly 8%. Railroad beginning fund balance trends have been on the rise since FY16. The purchase of the locomotive decreased the fund balance for FY25, and for FY26, it increased $79,000, bringing it to approximately $1.1 million. The railroad charges for service trends show an increase in switching, storage, and freight depot over the prior year. Overall revenues are up approximately 5%, and freight cars were up by 15 cars in comparison to the prior year. Matt's done well keeping expenses in line with revenues, and the profit and loss statement shows a total profit of operations in the fourth quarter of $44,000, with profits in all 3 months. Are there questions about the railroad fund? Okay, moving on to golf. Overall revenue is 119% of the annual budget, with golf revenue at year end at 122%. Overall expenditures are tracking at 85% of the annual budget, and fund balance increased roughly $24,000 through the year, with $246,000 in capital improvements being completed in FY25. Fund balance trends for the golf course have held steady over the biennium, with over $520,000 in capital expenditures over the last 2 years. This spike in FY21 was the injection of debt. We're talking about this right here. And those proceeds were spent on golf courses in the beginning of FY22. This blue line shows where the fund balance would have been with those extra dollars. And the fund balance for FY26 is estimated at $1.1 million. Charges for services in golf show improvements over the prior year of approximately $119,000, totaling roughly $1.6 million. This looks to be another record-breaking year for the golf course. Looking at the major categories that make up charges for services, you can see all categories are up in comparison to the prior year. Profit and loss statement of operations shows a profit in all 3 months of the quarter, with the total fourth quarter profits being $328,000. Are there questions about the golf course? I thought this was a pretty picture. That was your quarterly report. Is there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lori. All right. Move on to council reports. Are there any committee reports, council, or any reports from council members? None. Move on to ordinances. Ordinance number 1302, adopting changes in Prineville Code Section 93.59. Parking. Second presentation, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second presentation of this ordinance, which came in front of you all last council meeting. We had a presentation that was made by the Prineville Police Department. It is an ordinance, so it does require two particular readings. It will go into effect if passed tonight, 30 days from tonight as part of our code. And of course, this amends section 93.59 to allow for more stringent regulations and requirements on larger vehicles, RVs, trailers, boats on the private right of way or public right of way, excuse me. I don't believe we've had any comments or concerns since 2 weeks from today, but I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Jared? All right, there's no questions. Open to a motion to approve ordinance number 1302 for its second presentation.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 1302 for its second presentation.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passed unanimously. Move on to ordinance number 1303, adopting a towing ordinance for the city of Prineville. Second presentation, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. Jared Reed, City Attorney for the record. This was also presented 2 weeks ago at our city council meeting with a presentation from the Prineville Police Department and myself. This adds a chapter to our municipal code, as stated a couple of weeks ago. This has been somewhat of a state initiative in regards to creating towing codes throughout the city. They created a towing board in 2024 that issued best practices, and this tries to outline that. And so I'm open to any questions in regards to getting this moving forward on a second presentation.
Questions for Jared? All right, if there's no questions, I'm open to a motion to approve ordinance number 1303 for its second presentation.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1303, adding chapter 74 to this Prineville City Code towing ordinance for the city of Prineville.
For its second presentation.
Second presentation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passed unanimously. We'll move on to resolutions. Resolution number 1631, adopting the city of Prineville's representation in the update to the Kirk County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. Mr. Smith.
Evening again, Council. Joshua Smith, Planning Director. So Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan, something we've done before. This is probably my fourth plan. This is a federal requirement. It's generally a county document that's kind of progressed differently over time. This go around, it's a county plan and has two addendums, one for the city, one for the fire department. Both the county and the fire department have passed this plan already. I thought it was a big enough document that I'd go through a little bit of a summary on what it is in case anybody online wants to know or anybody in the audience. So previous update, 2018. Before that, it was 2005 and 2010, 2018 is what our last one was, what we're updating today. Generally, you do these every 5 years. There's no real schedule. It's kind of whenever FEMA puts it out there and the county goes through a process to get a contract together, typically with COIC. The primary purpose of this type of document is for disaster relief funding from the federal government. You're supposed to have one of these in place in order to receive that document should a flood happen or any type of natural type of disaster that goes beyond kind of that state level requirement for funding. It also helps on kind of a general sense of getting the community back engaged in some of those natural hazards they may forget about. You know, you have a drought and then we'd have a big water year, they forget about the drought. So it brings people back in to think about those things. It helps coordinate with the different agencies, and then it helps kind of bring people like myself, the sheriff, the police department, building department back into kind of a little more of a planning effort that looks at those hazard mitigations. We do a lot with flooding around here, especially with the building department. So it makes people more aware. What's in the plan? It's huge. It's 300 pages. Like I said, we are a small portion of that in the middle. It's an addendum to Prineville, and right below it, you can see the Crook County Fire and Rescue. That's fairly new, that they have their own section. It basically goes through and thinks about all the different natural disasters that we could have. I mean, straight from volcanoes to drought to landslides, whatever it might be, and what our risk assessment is for that. It doesn't have any ramification for the types of funding you get. It's making yourself aware. How can you help prevent it? What kind of mitigation factors can you do? The update process started back in early 24. I think the first steering committee with the county started in April and through February. So the steering committees are basically kind of the county agencies, mostly in the sheriff department. And they kind of talk about what happens county level. We did 2 steering committees with the city and the fire department in October with the county. Everybody was kind of there. They did preparedness surveys with the community. They did a general input survey. We had a public meeting with the community. This kind of all happened through the direction of COIC. And then we submit that to OEM, which is Oregon Emergency Management. They review it. It then gets submitted to FEMA for their review and comes back to us to actually adopt before they officially make it our plan for 2025. So like I said, the county adopted, fire has adopted, and once we do our resolution, we'll send all 3 back to FEMA. FEMA will say, yep, you did your job. Here's your approved plan. And all the dates in the document that you see will get filled in. Like I said, COIC, Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, facilitated this process. It was contracted from the county to COIC because these are pretty big lifts. There's a lot of rules and a lot of process to follow, so it's not something we typically do in-house. They gather all the information from the various agencies. They pull together all the risk assessments. They do all the surveys. They do all the meetings. So it's a pretty large engagement, which is why these things take so long, and they do a pretty good job. So Shelby Knight and Summers Taylor did a pretty comprehensive job of keeping people and keeping all the cats herded together to get this thing to the finish line. These are the risks that you'll see outlined in the plan, the kind of the bullet point type list. Drought is a new one they added to the plan this year. That's more of a county issue than a city, but it's still ranked pretty high in the city as well. I think it actually ranked as our top because the county affects us that much. Flood, extreme weather, wildfire, earthquake, landslide, volcanic. I mean, all these things are potentials. Like I said, there's an assessment in that document. You'll see they're all ranked. The ranking is really more for awareness, has nothing to do with funding level. So it doesn't mean you'll get less for flood than you would for volcano or whatever. And it uses those categories as what types of mitigations. Like obviously volcanic type activity, there's not much you can do about that. You're just making people aware that South Sister could go. And what happens if the ash plume comes this way? That's it. Floods a lot more vulnerable to floods. Extreme weather is probably one of the more severe things for the city of Prineville, where you get the hail, the wind, things that affect us because we have a denser population in the county. Wildfire, we don't have a huge risk, but we do get the smoke. So it's kind of those types of assessments and mitigation that you can read through the document. It's actually a pretty interesting document if you want to pick it up. I think Marv read the thing. If you want to learn about it, it's posted on the COIC website and it'll eventually be part of the city's documents. So summary of major changes. So you essentially take the old documents and they constantly just move them forward. So the 2018 document, they look at it, they see what changed in the FEMA, because FEMA is always changing the way they want these documents to look, read, and feel. And then they update them for that. So New hazards were added, section of wildfire for water, air quality was added. Extreme heat came up as another one we should think about and put in there as, you know, a severe weather event. Potential for high hazard dams. We happen to have two of those in Crook County. They're not Bowman, they're not Ochoco. Don't worry about that. Capabilities and assessment. So we look at ourselves and kind of say, okay, in these situations, do we have the capabilities to manage for a flood, for a wildfire, for a severe fire? What are those capabilities are? We look at our generator capacity, our water system, our sewer system. Can we supply these things in an emergency situation? Vulnerability assessment. So how vulnerable are we to these types of hazards are kind of looked at in there. And then we update that data. We look at history, probability, impacts, and all those types of things. The addendums are put in. And then kind of this general implementation, they reformat the document. And that's what these last bullet points, implementation and maintenance in the process, the appendices, it's just how it reads. So that was significantly changed from the 2018 update. And with that, COIC is contact staff. If anybody has any questions on process or whether Shelby Knight at COIC can talk to you about that. The convener for the county, AJ Crawford, and then myself and Russ DeBoot were the kind of conveners for our side. And then the website down there is where you can see some of the full documents. We'll eventually have it on our website as well. Are there any questions from staff or from council on what we're doing and what this is for? I know Marv, you did, Counselor Sumner, the list you sent me, you read through, Counselor Sumner did a pretty bang up job of a grammar check and punctuation. So those will be changed and they will be reflected in all three plans. It's the same plan, so it'll be updated.
Gotta have a proofreader. Right?
Yep, great proofreader. If not, this is a resolution, so obviously it takes a motion, second full approval, but if anybody has any questions after the fact, I can answer those as well.
If there's no questions from council, I'm open to a motion to approve resolution number 1631.
I'll move to approve resolution 1631, adopting the city of Prineville's representation in the update to the Crook County multi-jurisdictional natural hazards mitigation plan.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that passed unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Josh. All right, we are down to visitors' appearances and requests. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the council? Before we adjourn into executive session? All right, is there anybody on the phone or on the Zoom call? Okay. And just for reference, if there is anybody on the phone, what do they press? *67 to unmute? Huh? *6. Okay. Thank you. I had forgotten that, so I wanted to know for myself. All right. Well, no one wants to speak to us. I'll read the.
Actually, we're actually going to ask for a motion to adjourn the regular meeting. And then we would call executive session as there's no intention, well, frankly, it won't happen, decisions being made after executive session.
Okay.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. We will adjourn.
And now feel free to, if you'd like to call that an executive session, feel free to do so.
All right. I will open the executive session. The city of Prineville City Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602E, which allows the council to meet in executive session for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons who are designated to negotiate real property transactions. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of this session as previously announced. Outside recording devices not belonging to the city shall be turned off completely. No decision may be made in executive session, and the designated staff shall be Casey Kaiser, Steve Forrester, Lisa Morgan, Caroline Irvin, Josh Smith, Jared Reed, and Matt Wiederhole. At the end of the executive session, we will not be returning to open session. Lori, sorry, and Lori Hooper Andrew. All right, thank you all for being here.